Welcome to Hoosier Homeland, an Indiana Department of Homeland Security podcast. This podcast discusses and explores the latest news and insights in emergency management and public safety. Join us as we engage with subject matter experts and bring you the latest on how IDHS is working to provide Hoosiers with a safe, secure, and resilient Indiana. Sit back, relax, and let's dive in. Welcome to this special bonus episode of Hoosier Homeland. Today, we're talking about a major change coming to the way the National Weather Service communicates weather alerts. It's called the Hazard Simplification Project, and it aims to make weather alerts clearer and easier to understand. We are back with Sam Lashley from the National Weather Service to explain why this change is happening, what's new, and how it will impact the way we receive weather warnings in Indiana and beyond. Let's jump in and learn more about how these updates could help us all stay better prepared. Can you give us an overview of the Hazard Simplification Project? What are the main motivations for it?
So we have heard over the years there are too many Weather Service products. And by products, we mean text products. All of our warnings or watches, advisories. There was just one for every conceivable hazard. And the Weather Service heard from not only the public, but emergency managers and the media, there's just too much. So the Hazard Simplification Project is to streamline this. So for example, there used to be advisories for snow, for sleet, for ice, pretty much every individual type, lake effect. Now we have simplified that to a winter weather advisory. And then in the body, we will convey what that hazard is for that event. It may be a combination of hazards. So instead of having a sleet advisory and a snow advisory, the winter weather advisory covers both sleet and snow. So we're simplifying down, we're eliminating all these extraneous products and really consolidating and concentrating and just conveying the information within those newer type products.
So I know a lot of science and social science research goes into a sort of change like this because people, they may decide to do certain things or certain actions based on how you at the National Weather Service describe something. I'm wondering how much social science research contributed to the changes you guys are looking to implement?
Yes, and the Weather Service has really done a great job in the last 5 to 10 years of working with social scientists. We actually have a social scientist at NOAA who works with the Weather Service on these specific issues. So they were the ones that really organized the surveys that went out to not only the public, but the partners, emergency management, and the media. And they came up with questions specifically targeting the different products, even down to the color schemes that these products will show up on our websites. They talked with those partners. So we got a lot of this information through the social scientists. These recommendations have come from them. And again, not everybody is going to agree. But it's what's best for the masses and what makes the most sense. So yes, they were consulted and a big part of this. And even moving forward, they're going to be a big part of what we're doing in the future. We're hoping that more can be hired because it's a lot of work for just one person right now in the Weather Service.
So the project has two main approaches, right? Repair and revamp. Could you tell us about how these differ?
Yeah, so one is basically just adjusting the products we have, and the other is completely wiping out products, starting over, or coming up with new. And I've gotten lost in the nomenclature of how they've named it and everything. And that was sort of to get us started. And now it's just sort of going phase by phase. So this phase was the winter products, and like the cold weather advisory, that was the wind chill advisory. So that's more of just the changing the wording a little bit. But the extreme cold watch, extreme cold warning, now we've completely created new products and brought in the wind chill watch and warning along with the air temperature into that one product. So it's really just because we had to give names to something, because you gotta do that to get money in the budget for all those things. But yeah, it's really just the simplification is the best way to look at it.
Why was it important to consolidate certain alerts, like combining the lake effect snow watch into a general winter storm watch?
Yeah, again, it was very confusing because you would have what we call a synoptic system. That's when we get our main system snow, as some people put it. So in many cases, you would have a winter storm watch for the system snow, but then a lake effect snow watch behind it for just the lake effect snow. And then when you went into the warning, it was even more confusing because you transitioned from a winter storm warning, then you had this lake effect snow warning behind it. So this revamping and combining, now you just have a winter storm watch for the whole period, and then you can just break out, let's say, LaPorte County, Lake County, Porter County. You can break those out and just have a different time extension on those counties for the winter storm watch and warning as you transition to the lake effect. So again, when it comes to our colored map on the website, that was just a nightmare because you had all these different watches and warnings, and sometimes they overlapped and you couldn't see one. Now you've simplified that, and the colors are all the same on that map, just with different ending times. So you can kind of just see the system warning fall off the map, but your lake effect warning under the winter weather warning is still in effect there.
And how will the removal of advisory and special weather statements improve clarity for the public?
Yeah, that is one that it's the timeline. It was supposed to be happening here at the end of 2024, 2025. It's being pushed off because there's a lot of logistics when it comes to like the companies that provide weather services, especially to the media, like DTN, Barron, those private weather companies. It's going to be a good thing because one of the biggest complaints we've always heard is one office will have an advisory up, another one won't, and it's for a very small difference in criteria. Well, we want to be impact-based now. We don't care if you're getting 3 inches of snow versus an inch, but if the inch is having impacts, we want to have an advisory out. So we're looking at the amount of impacts. And that created a lot of confusion because the winter weather advisory was criteria-based. Hey, you need 3 to 5 inches of snow to put this advisory out. So what eliminating the advisories and even the special weather statements is we're going to one product eventually. And right now, because we don't have a better term for it, is just plain language statements. So that's sort of the working term for it. But if we're expecting 2 to 4 inches with impacts here in Indianapolis, let's say Louisville is expecting 1 to 3 inches with impacts, and Wilmington is expecting 3 to 5 inches with impacts. In the old system or the current system, 1 or 2 of us may have an advisory, so the other may not. With the future, with plain language statements, we would all have a statement in effect, but we would each convey in that statement what it's for and what our local impacts are be. So visually, you look at a map, it's nice and streamlined, and then you would just go to your local office's statement and read what would the impacts be, what's going to occur, and it simplifies, again, the whole process. And for our media partners, it's a nice, clean map. For emergency managers, it's less confusion across our weather service boundaries because you just see a statement's in effect, you click on it for your county, and you see what's going to impact there.
Will watches and warnings remain the same, or are there adjustments being made to those as well?
Watches and warnings at this point will remain the same. Again, we've already transitioned those to impact-based where we've lowered the criteria for snow to 5 inches here in central Indiana. Northern Indiana's remained 6 inches. Southern Indiana is now 4 inches for warning. So that's already been tweaked a little bit. Now farther down the road, additional tweaks may be made, but right now I think the focus is going to be on the elimination of those advisories to go to more of these statement-based. Personally, I'd love to see them called winter weather statements, but that hasn't been decided. And like I said, for now, plain language statements is sort of the generic placeholder for what we're going to call it.
Can you talk a little bit about the new what, where, when, additional details, and precautionary actions format? How does this make things easier for users?
Yeah, so in the past, it was sort of a free-for-all. You just would write in the body of the advisory or the watch or the warning what you expect to occur. With technology now and coding, the different sections can be pulled out by software. So programmers can just write code. They can tailor the scrolls you see on the television stations based on those who, what, when, and where type segments. So it's really been an improvement for programmers and for, again, these private weather companies that pull that information out. And it's standardized the format across the Weather Service. So no matter if you're in Missouri, Indiana, or Ohio, you're going to be able to call a warning up and see the same format and get the same information and not have to read through a bunch of text or jargon.
I'm wondering, when is the full rollout of the HazSimp changes expected? And will they happen all at once or more gradually?
They're gradual changes, and like with most projects in the government, the timelines are very fluid and changing. But as you've already seen, we are changing what is easiest to change and makes sense. It's just some software limitations, logistics issues are slowing other parts of the products, as with the elimination of the advisory. So I really haven't heard any updates recently. They've just said they're sticking to sometime after 2024. 2024 is almost gone.
Yeah.
I really don't see this happening in 2025. If it did, it would be late. So we're still probably looking at 2026 or 27 before logistically it happens. There's a lot of other changes coming in the Weather Service. That's probably a topic for another podcast. But the leadership of the Weather Service is all about being partner focused and doing everything we can to improve our working relationship, our products and our services for our core partners. And that's what's really driving a lot of these changes.
I'm wondering, from your perspective, what adjustments might local governments or other partners need to accommodate the new alert system?
Really, no, because most services they already subscribe to, they should be making these changes, but I would encourage everyone to reach out to the services that provide the alerts for weather products to make sure they have made these changes and everything's set up. So you want to just make sure that anything with wind chill watch or wind chill warning has been converted to the extreme cold watch, extreme cold warning, and the cold advisory.
If you had to highlight one major benefit of the HazSimp project for the average person, what would it be?
Just getting the weather information in a much more simplistic, easy to read and understand format. No more seeing differences or reading through jargon. It's just going to be very basic, very simplistic. No more questions. Hey, you had a wind chill advisory for 15 below, but you've got nothing out and the air temperature is 18 below now. We saw that a lot. So this should solve that. The new criteria, because it's issued for slightly warmer temperatures, about 5 degrees, again, based on impacts, societal input. Locally, we've talked to our partners that see impacts that even when the temperature or wind chill get below 0 degrees. So we may be a little bit more proactive if it looks like impacts are going to happen. we may issue that advisory, even though we're maybe not going to quite meet the -10, or we're going to get close to it. Again, we work with our partners, and if we're hearing we need to be a little bit more proactive, we might do that, or we might put an additional statement out just to say, hey, we're going to be close.
So now looking ahead, are there any plans for additional updates or improvements to the system after these changes are in place?
There are. I don't know what that's going to be, but it's going to be a constant reevaluation. What can we do better? We're already eliminating a lot of products that were created back in the 70s and 80s based on technology then that we're still doing, but the technology has made them obsolete. So we're trying to streamline, and that frees our staff up then to be more available for decision support services and work more closely with our core partners instead of mundane tasks in the office that are now, quite frankly, automated and as accurate as anything. So,
are there any projects coming up that you personally are excited about in maybe the new year or in the future?
Yes, the Weather Service is going to a completely new operating model.
Okay.
So our new director is the first Weather Service director to ever come up through the ranks as a forecaster. He started as an intern forecaster, meteorologist in charge. He was at the Hurricane Center in charge, and now he's directing the Weather Service. That's never happened before. So he sat around the water coolers. He's worked the midnight shifts and complained about things. And his mission is to listen to the staff and completely change how we do things, make us more eye to eye with our partners and being on site for big events where weather support's needed. So that's going to change how we do things here. We're no longer going to worry about if the high is going to be 60 or 65 on day 6. We're going to let the automation do that. The Weather Prediction Center is going to take over some of that, and it's really going to free our local staff up to be more nimble and flexible. And that's really exciting for what we can do and what I hope we'll be able to do. And the Weather Service is going to look completely different. We're going to see some tests of this actually in 2025.
Okay.
So it's happening very, very quickly.
Where can people go to be alerted of these new changes? Where can they see that?
Yeah, that's a great question because a lot of it's still coming internally, but just weather.gov, that's the National Weather Service page, and usually they put little headlines on the top of those pages for changes that are coming. So I would keep an eye on there. Of course, I'm going to keep all of our partners updated when we do our semi-annual partner workshops. I always try to cover things like this that are coming up. So we'll be doing that here in sometime in November, and I'll be sharing at least what information I have. But everybody's always free to reach out to me if they have any questions or want to know more. I'd be happy to share what I know at the time.
For the general public, will these updated changes, when they happen, be on your guys' social media pages?
Yeah, the ones that would impact the public, we would keep them abreast. Some of it's just going to be internal restructuring of hours and positions and things like that. But anything that's going to impact the public, we will definitely make them aware of.
A huge thank you to Sam Lashley for breaking down the National Weather Service Hazard Simplification project for us. Making weather alerts clearer will benefit us all, and it's great to know that these changes are on the horizon. If you'd like to learn more about the project, visit weather.gov/hazardsimplification for details. Thanks for joining us on Hoosier Homeland. As always, stay tuned for more ways to stay prepared and informed in the future. This podcast has been a production of the Indiana Department of Homeland Security. If you enjoyed this episode, our complete catalog can be found on Spotify, YouTube, and Pandora. To listen to previous episodes, go to on.in.gov/Hoosier Homeland. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram at IndianaDHS. We will see you in the next episode. Until then, stay informed, stay prepared, and take control of your safety.